The coffee was getting cold, but I couldn't stop staring at her hands. 73 years old, and she still painted her nails bright red. That was date number 7, Maria. She talked about her grandchildren for 45 minutes straight, showed me pictures on her phone, asked if I had any. When I said no, she got that look. You know the one. Pity mixed with confusion, like I was broken somehow. I paid the check, walked her to her car, and knew I'd never see her again. That's when it hit me. I was doing this all wrong. See, when you're 84 like me, when your wife of 52 years has been gone for 3 years, people expect you to just fade away. Sit in your recliner, watch Wheel of Fortune, wait for Sunday visits from family who feel obligated. But I wasn't ready for that. So I did something crazy. I went online, created a profile on one of those senior dating sites, put up a picture from my nephew's wedding, wrote something about loving long walks and home-cooked meals. Within a week, I had 14 women who wanted to meet me for coffee. 14 first dates in 6 months. And let me tell you something nobody talks about. Dating after 70 is like learning to drive in a foreign country. All the rules have changed, but nobody gave you the new manual. Date number 1 was Patricia, 71, retired school teacher from Tucson. We met at Denny's on a Tuesday morning. She ordered the Grand Slam, extra bacon, and told me about her late husband's battle with cancer, while syrup dripped down her chin. I nodded in all the right places, made appropriate sounds of sympathy, but inside I was screaming. This wasn't a date. This was grief counseling with eggs over easy. Date number 2 was worse. Sandra, 75, brought a photo album, not on her phone, an actual photo album with those plastic sleeves. 40 years of family vacations, graduations, anniversaries. She turned each page slowly, explaining every face, every celebration, every milestone. I felt like I was attending someone else's life in review. By the time she got to her grandson's Little League photos, I was ready to fake a heart attack. But I didn't. I sat there, smiled, and ordered another cup of coffee. The third date taught me something important about timing. Eleanor, 78, arrived 30 minutes late because she had to drop off casseroles at church. Then she spent 20 minutes explaining the recipe for each one. Green bean casserole, tuna noodle, something called friendship salad that looked like it could survive a nuclear winter. When she finally asked about me, I told her I used to own a small construction company, built houses for young families mostly. She nodded politely and launched into a story about her kitchen renovation in 1987. That's when I realized We weren't really talking to each other. We were just taking turns talking to ourselves. Most people walk away when stories get this heavy. The fact that you're still listening, that means something. Date number 4 was different. Rebecca, 74, met me at a coffee shop downtown. She ordered black coffee, no sugar, and asked me straight out, "What do you miss most about being married?" Not what I expected. I thought for a moment and said, "The arguing." She laughed, really laughed, and said, "Finally, someone honest." We talked for 2 hours about the stupid fights married couples have. Who left the milk out? Whose turn it was to take out the garbage? Why men never ask for directions, even when they're clearly lost. It felt normal, like talking to an old friend instead of auditioning for the role of potential companion. But when she asked for a second date, I hesitated. Not because I didn't like her, but because I was starting to understand something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't looking for another wife. I was looking for someone to prove I wasn't invisible. Date 5 through 10 blur together now. Coffee shops, diners, the food court at the mall. Always public places, always safe, always ending with awkward handshakes and promises to call that nobody meant. There was Dorothy, who talked about her medications for an hour. Helen, who brought her daughter for safety and sat 3 tables away, watching us like we were teenagers. Ruth, who cried when I mentioned my wife and said she could never compete with a memory. By date 11, I was exhausted, not physically, though getting dressed up and driving across town twice a week was wearing me down, but emotionally. Each woman was carrying the same weight I was. Loss, loneliness, the fear that this might be it for them, that they might have already used up all their chances at happiness. We were like survivors of some invisible disaster, gathering in coffee shops to compare wounds. Date 12 was Linda, 76, worked at the Social Security office for 38 years before retiring. She had this nervous laugh that punctuated everything she said. I love to read, ha. Mystery novels mostly, ha. Do you like books, ha. It wasn't funny, nervous, not humorous, but she couldn't stop. I realized she was terrified, not of me, but of the whole situation, of putting herself out there, of hoping for something, of risking disappointment again. I recognized it because I felt the same way. Date 13 almost broke me. Margaret, 79, ordered chamomile tea and spent the entire hour talking about her late husband, how he used to make her breakfast every Sunday, how they had a system for grocery shopping, him pushing the cart, her with the list, how he died holding her hand in the hospital and his last words were an apology for leaving her alone. By the time she finished, we were both crying. Right there in the middle of Starbucks, two old people sobbing over our cooling drinks, while college students pretended not to stare. I drove home that day and almost deleted my profile. Almost gave up on the whole stupid idea. What was I doing? I was 81 years old, chasing something that belonged to a younger man in a younger time. My wife Rosa used to say I was stubborn. Miguel, she'd say, you get an idea in your head and you won't let go, even when it's hurting you. She was right then, and she would have been right about this. But then came date 14. Her name was Carmen, 80 years old. Silver hair she wore in a neat bun, and the most beautiful hands I'd ever seen on someone our age. No arthritis, no age spots, just elegant fingers that moved when she talked. We met at a small Mexican restaurant, my suggestion this time. I was tired of coffee shops and their sterile atmosphere. I wanted to be somewhere that felt like home. She ordered menudo, extra hominy, and didn't apologize for the smell. My grandmother's recipe, she said. If a man can't handle menudo, he can't handle me. I laughed, actually laughed, for the first time in months. We talked about our childhoods in similar neighborhoods, about learning English in school while speaking Spanish at home, about the weight of being the bridge between two cultures for our children. She told me about working as a seamstress for 40 years, about the wedding dresses she'd made, the quinceañera gowns, the christening outfits. Her hands weren't just beautiful, they were storytellers. When I told her about Rosa, about how we met at a dance in 1958, about our life together, she didn't get that pitying look. Instead, she said, "She sounds like she was lucky to have you, and you were lucky to have her. That kind of luck doesn't happen twice, but it also doesn't disappear just because someone dies." That's when I knew. This wasn't about finding another Rosa. This was about discovering who Miguel was without her. Carmen didn't want to replace my wife, and I didn't want to replace her husband. We wanted to build something new, something that honored what came before without being imprisoned by it. But here's the thing, and this is the rule nobody over 60 should break. You cannot date successfully if you're still married to a ghost. I was carrying Rosa to every coffee shop, every restaurant, every awkward first meeting. I was measuring every woman against a memory that had been polished by grief until it was perfect and untouchable. The other women I met were doing the same thing. We were all haunted, all looking for someone to compete with phantoms. Carmen was the first person who understood that wasn't the game we should be playing. There are more stories I need to get off my chest. If you want to hear them, hit subscribe. I'll be here. After our third date, Carmen said something that changed everything. We were sitting in my truck outside her apartment complex. Nothing fancy, just one of those senior communities with the beige siding and numbered parking spots. And she turned to me with those storytelling hands folded in her lap. "Miguel," she said, "I need to tell you something. I'm not looking for someone to complete me. I'm complete already. Broken in some places, sure, but complete. What I'm looking for is someone to share my completeness with." That night I went home and did something I should have done 3 years ago. I packed up Rosa's clothes, her perfume, her reading glasses that still sat on the nightstand. I didn't throw them away. They went to my daughter, who cried when she saw them, but understood why it was time. Then I rearranged the bedroom, moved the bed to face the window instead of the wall. Rosa had always wanted it that way, but I'd preferred the privacy. Now I wanted to wake up to light. I called Carmen the next day and asked if she wanted to go dancing. There's a place downtown that has senior night every Wednesday. Real dancing, not that chair exercise stuff. She said yes, but warned me her knees weren't what they used to be. Neither were mine, but that wasn't the point. The point was moving together, in time, in rhythm, in the present tense instead of the past. We've been together for 2 years now, not married. Neither of us wants that particular paper trail again, but together in the way that matters. She keeps her apartment, I keep my house, but we spend most evenings at one place or the other. She cooks on Sundays, I handle Wednesdays, and we figure out the rest as we go. Her grown children were suspicious at first. My daughter was protective, but they've come around, mostly because they see something in us they thought was lost forever. Joy. Not the desperate happiness of people trying to convince themselves they're not lonely, but the quiet joy of two complete people choosing to share space. The rule nobody over 60 should break isn't about age limits or appropriate behavior or what the grandkids might think. It's this: don't date to fill a hole, date to share abundance. If you're looking for someone to make you whole, you'll attract people who are also broken, also desperate, also trying to use another person as a bandage for old wounds. But if you do the work, the real work of grieving your losses, honoring your past, and building a life that feels full even when you're alone, then you'll attract someone doing the same work. Carmen and I don't complete each other. We complement each other, like two independent houses that happen to share a beautiful view. We each have our own foundation, our own rooms, our own ways of being in the world. But we've opened the connecting door between us, and the light that passes through makes both spaces brighter. Those first 13 dates taught me what I didn't want. Carmen taught me what I did want. And what I wanted was someone brave enough to build something new instead of trying to resurrect something that was already complete in its own time, in its own way. If you're over 60 and thinking about dating, here's my advice. Start with yourself. Be ruthlessly honest about what you're really looking for. If it's just companionship to ward off loneliness, there are cheaper and less complicated ways to achieve that. Join a book club, volunteer at the food bank, take a class at the community college. But if what you're looking for is connection, real connection with another complete person, then do the work first. Make peace with your ghosts, not by forgetting them, but by thanking them for the time you had, and releasing them from the job of defining your future. Clean out the closets, literal and metaphorical. Rearrange the furniture. Create space for something new, instead of trying to fit someone into the exact shape of what you lost. And when you do meet someone who interests you, don't spend the first date listing your medical conditions or showing pictures of your late spouse. Ask questions. Listen to the answers. Find out who this person is right now, in this moment, in this life they're actively living. Be curious about their completeness, instead of looking for their cracks where you might fit in. Carmen is 82 now. I'm 84. We're not young, but we're not dead either. Yesterday she taught me how to make tamales from scratch. Next week I'm showing her how to change a tire. Not because she needs to know, she's got AAA, but because she wants to know. Because learning something new together is better than rehashing old memories alone. The coffee is getting cold again, but this time it doesn't matter. Carmen is sitting across from me, reading the newspaper, occasionally sharing headlines she thinks I'll find interesting. Her red nail polish is chipped. Her silver hair is slightly mussed from the wind outside. And her beautiful hands are wrapped around a mug that says, "World's okayest grandma." She looks up, catches me staring, and smiles. "What?" she asks. "Nothing," I say, "just grateful." And I am grateful for Rosa, who taught me how to love. Grateful for those 13 awkward dates that taught me what love isn't. And grateful for Carmen, who taught me that love at 84 isn't a consolation prize or a desperate attempt to recapture youth. It's something entirely different, something entirely its own, something worth waiting for, worth working for, worth breaking that one rule to find. Don't date to fill the emptiness. Fill the emptiness first, then share the fullness.